coincided with the rise of the unfortunate death toll at Charoti GP and at Lonavala Highway and all of that, right? With these performance motorcycles becoming more and more accessible. See, over the past decade, bikes have gotten very common. Yeah. And then they've come in the second-hand market, which makes it accessible for a lot of people.
Correct.
Right? Who probably don't have the information on riding safety and safety gear. I'm good.
Guys, welcome to the Zenngine podcast series. We want you to be included in our journey of Zenngine, which is why this podcast. We'll cover a lot of interesting things and some not interesting things as well, but we'll see how it goes. A quick intro of both of us, but I'll give it to Zen first.
Hi guys, I'm Zen. I'm the CEO and founder of Zenngine. I founded this 3 years ago. This is a performance motorcycle workshop. A bit about myself. I am an engineer from Manchester Metropolitan University. Did my motorsport engineering from there. I've been wrenching on engines and automotive parts for the better half of the past decade. So yeah, absolutely love what I do and have a big aims to go forward with this. Mugu?
Thank you. My name is Brigendra. A lot of you know me as Mugu. I've been in the banking industry for about 20 years now. I crunch numbers and I do strategy and all that boring stuff that banking is associated with. But yes, I'm a passionate motorcyclist. I've been a cyclist before. And I feel privileged to be part of this Zenngine journey. I feel privileged to know Zen. I feel privileged to even do this podcast with all of you. So thank you. Thank you, Zen, for the intro. You did cover a little bit of what Zenngine is about. Give us a glimpse into the past, to the current, and a bit of the future. And we'll talk about the future in elaboration a little later on. So keep it short.
So you'll be surprised, I haven't been riding motorcycles for that long. My first motorcycle ever that I bought was in 2018, not that long ago. Yeah, like my house was not even allowed to have motorcycles, right? So when I came back from the UK, I was a complete car guy. But then I realized that performance motorcycles are so much cheaper than performance cars. Like my Daytona right now can pretty much keep up with a Porsche on a straight, right? At least in acceleration terms, right? And it is like what 1/15th or 1/20th the cost of the price. So, and my obsession is with engines. I love performance engines, and I get the same performance engineering inside an engine of a super bike that you would get in a top tier car, which is where I switched to motorcycles. Okay. Back in 2018, started my riding journey. Did pretty much everything that I could do on my first motorcycle. From track days to touring to everything. I used to love wrenching, and this started as a side gig that I used to do on weekends, right? And eventually I realized, okay, I'm having a lot more fun in my weekends than I'm doing in my everyday job. So I just said, let's go ahead and do this as a full-time gig.
Okay. You did mention you didn't start motorcycling too long ago as well. You also mentioned that your bike can keep up with the Porsche and everything. I have seen you ride, and your bike can do much better than the Porsche because you're riding. So kudos to you, Zen. We all know you as a great engineer. We all know you as a great mechanic. We all know you as a brilliant rider, and you're gifted. So great job with that, right? I had a question about why the garage. You did cover a bit of it, and I obviously know the answer to this question, right? But tell us a little bit in detail, and maybe I'll cover for the audience, right? My experience as a rider, right? We have a good ecosystem of performance motorcycles in Mumbai or even in India, right? But everything is happening in silos, and when I say that, I mean for something regarding the engine, I have to go to one place. For something regarding suspension, I have to go to another place, and so on and so forth, right? Nothing was ever in one place where I could just walk in, do everything that I wanted to do on my bike and then walk out. And probably that is why Zenngine. But yes, I just covered these topics at the top of the house. Give us some detail on that side.
So I learned my hands-on tools stuff in Manchester when I was in the UK. And the way workshops work there is drastically different to the way the workshop would be even visually visible here, right? It's a lot more cleaner, a lot more organized, obviously the top of the line tools, and that is what I was used to because that's what I grew up working with, right? when I came here, I could not find even the service center guys using the sort of tools that would be just normal for me back in the UK. So I started wrenching on my bikes myself because I wanted the same sort of work to happen on my motorcycle, and that you can think of as the core with which Zenngine was basically founded, to have quality work getting done on a motorcycle that deserves that sort of a work.
Okay. For everyone, and give us feedback regarding this, right? In my own experience, a lot of times diagnosis of a problem of a performance bike happens over here through guesswork, right? And then there is this whole trial and error thing, right?
Yeah.
But here at Zenngine, with the sophisticated, latest, top of the line tools that we have, diagnosis happens scientifically, and I think that's what really sets you apart, Zen, right? You need a certain level of proficiency with using those tools, and I think that is what Zen brings to the table based on his educational experience.
So that is quite true. Now there's a bit of a difference when we see, if we have someone who's very experienced in what he does in terms of repairing a motorcycle, right? That experience is going to make him fix your motorcycle faster than I do, right? Because once you come in with a problem, he has already faced that problem in the past and he knows what the fix is, right?
Correct.
The way I work is, the first thing that I need before I start work on any motorcycle is a service manual for that motorcycle, which is a big pain in our industry to get now, with the, every manufacturer trying to stop you from getting it. But we have workaround for that, luckily, right? We need the service manual, and whenever I come in with a bike that comes in with a problem, the first thing I look at as the service manual. Let's see what the engineers that designed the bike think about this.
The situation of the problem or whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Which is why when we started this in 2019, my tagline was "Engineered hands for engine care," right? Because I look at it from the engineer's point of view. Okay, someone who's built this motorcycle from ground up must have thought of what will happen this side, and all of that is completely compressed in one service manual that is there for that motorcycle, and it has a lot of things that you can go through, which I learned a lot of stuff through service manuals, just through reading service manuals.
Okay.
So those are a few ways that I differ from people. One of the biggest ways I would say is a service manual. Apart from tools, way of working, being more meticulous with the way I work and so on.
Thank you. You touched on a very sensitive topic, Sam. Okay. Again, I know the answer to this question. Tell me, are you the only person in this country or in this city who can do a good job on motorcycles?
Oh, definitely not. Like, there have been motorcycles in the country before I probably was even born. Yes. Like, before I entered the riding community, and these motorcycles were obviously getting fixed.
Yes.
Right? Every machine has a problem, and there are people who are fixing it. And we all know people who have been fixing motorcycles over the ages, right?
Yeah.
But I never found the quality of work or the professionalism, or let's say the cleanliness of work that with which I work back in the UK, right? And that is what I demand from a workshop. Purely, the only point is, okay, cleanliness, organization. These are the two things I demand from a workshop where my motorcycle is going, right? That would be one difference. I am sure there are mechanics out there who are much better than me are, right? They will fix problems better than me. I know that for a fact, right? I know that. What I bring to the table is something just the way I like to work, and a lot of people like yourself who have, your obsessive compulsive disorder with cleaning and all of that, and so on, right? If people like you, so when people who know you already know that, right? So, people like you who also demand the same thing.
And I was just going to say that, even as a consumer, as a customer, my thought process says, if you can't keep your own garage clean, how clean are you going to keep my bike? Right? If you're not meticulous with what environment you're living in, how meticulous are you going to be with my bike, right? And your environment, your ecosystem resonates the output of your work. And I think that's where, in my opinion, and I was here since, not since day one, probably since day two, the ambience here resonates the quality of work that you're talking about. So thank you with that, right? We will go to our next set of questions. And this is going to get complicated from here, right?
Okay, yeah.
Why do you call yourself a performance workshop?
Because we don't just because. Okay, that's a tricky question. Yeah, you said very complicated, right? Okay, so we don't focus on maintenance per se. Obviously, it's part and parcel of the game. But I have always, since the very beginning, since I made IGTV videos and all that, I've always said that there are two types of maintenances that you can do: preventative maintenance and curative maintenance, right? And they are pretty clear with their names themselves. Curative is something that you do after a problem occurs. Preventive is something that you do before, so that the problem does not occur at all, right? First of all, we focus on preventative maintenance. That is one, right? But two, what I'm looking at is we are in this community to have fun.
Correct.
Right? We are not the commuter segment. Right? We don't cater to the commuter segment. We are all here to have fun. What makes it fun? What makes riding a bike? What makes it fun for you to ride the 790 Duke?
For me, it's the experience that is brought by power, handling, dynamics.
Is it all of that performance?
You can say that.
Different ways of performance, isn't all of that performance?
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Right? Okay. So we are here to enhance what you feel with the performance of your motorcycle. Which is why I call it a performance motorcycle, performance workshop. Right? The difference between us and most of the people out there is if you come to me and if you tell me, like we did with your braking system, right? If you come to me and if you tell me that I'm not happy with this part of my bike and I think that's where it lacks, right? Instead of telling you, hey, this is the product I have, which will work great for you, I'm going to go back, read up on the theory, do some calculations and come back to you and tell you, hey, this is what the math says, this is what the theory says, and this is what I think should work. Let's try to find that and get it fixed, which is what we did with your braking system.
And I've experienced that in the past as well.
Yeah.
So thank you, Sam. I am going to live up to my statement where I say it's going to get complicated from here.
Okay.
There are people made great bikes over the past 150 years, right? Those bikes have been running like you mentioned. And people have been enjoying those bikes like you mentioned probably even before you were born, probably before I was born, right? So what's the big deal with what you're doing?
Okay, tell me this, please.
I know an answer to this question which is probably going to be better than your answer.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay. So there is nothing novel that we are doing here, right? It's just that I feel that the Indian bike community is not completely served in this way. Let's put it that way, right? If we go to the UK or if we go to the US, pretty much every workshop that you get, whether it is authorized, unauthorized, whatever it is, right? They have their minimum quality requirements.
Okay.
They don't have a shady shed where there is some guy working in a pile of dirt, removing parts from your motorcycle, keeping them in those pile of dirt, right? And doing that. Now, there are workshops completely opposite to that who do this as well, right? But it's not accessible to everyone. It is not accessible to everyone. That's obviously point one. Where I like to make a difference is I bring my engineering background into it. Like I said with the previous example, I do a lot of maths and theory study and everything before I come to you and give you an answer. Whether it is an upgrade on your bike or it is a fix for your motorcycle, either of those questions will have a theoretical backed answer to it. That way, you learn something as well, right? In fixing your motorcycle, I study, right? People who are working with me, they study, they learn something as well, right? So you know more about your motorcycle that way. Instead of just giving it, hey, here's your bike fixed. That's it. You can go right now.
Your answer lives up to my standards. Thank you. Right? So yes, as a customer, right? I feel more involved with my riding experience since I've met Zen. Since Zen is kind of doing up my bike every now and then. We kind of keep thinking of how to upgrade, Zen keeps thinking about how to give his customers a better experience with the amount of money they've invested in their bike and all that, right? So yes, thank you for that answer, Zen. And that kind of creates a segue into my next question. You use the word track day 5 million times in a day, right?
Yeah.
Why?
There's not, so personally, right? there's nothing better than it. Is there?
Okay.
Like for me, there's nothing better than it. Yes, I have not had the experience, the vast experience of experiencing maybe an off-road segment or something like that. This was the first thing that I tried on my first motorcycle, and I just fell in love with it. But I'll tell you why I push people to go to track days. And this is not just about me doing track days. I've taken a lot of people to the racetrack in the past, including yourself, and a lot of people that we interact to on a day-to-day basis, right? This started when I did my first L1 with Indie Motard, who are a very road-based, road-focused school, right? They don't teach you how to race, they don't teach you how to overtake, they don't teach you how to tuck in into the right position. They will teach you how to be safer on the road.
Yep.
Right? And my timing with my first track day, which was back in 2019, coincided with the rise of the unfortunate death toll at Charoti GP and at Lonavala Highway and all of that, right? With these performance motorcycles becoming more and more accessible. See, over the past decade, bikes have gotten very common.
Yeah.
And then they've come in the second-hand market,
yeah.
which makes it accessible for a lot of people.
Correct.
Right? Who probably don't have the information on riding safety and safety gear. Right? Those people having that sort of an access to their dream bikes, which are capable of lethal speeds,
yeah.
and them not having the skill to control it.
Yeah.
Right? That resulted in an increase in death toll. Because see, very honestly, if you are on a Busa, and if you're traveling at, let's say, 200 plus kmph, and if you have a fall, it doesn't matter whether you have an RI or a Shoei or an airbag suit or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a very high likelihood that you're not going to make it out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
A slam is a slam.
Yes.
Right? Your suit is probably going to protect you from road rash, but yeah,
Correct.
it can't help stop you from spine cracking into two or
Correct.
something. Right?
This comes to the same point that I mentioned earlier. Your riding gear safety is a curative way of protecting
Not
yourself,
preventative.
not preventative. The
Preventative is skill.
Is skill, absolutely. If you have the skill to not fall, that is your first priority. I should not fall.
Correct.
Right? So I had people coming to me with their big fancy motorcycles and we do this GP, we ride here, we do that, we do this. And I just said, out of pure betterment for the riding community said, you know what, all of you should do a track day. Just do L1. Don't do regular track days, even though a lot of them got hooked. But that's not up to me, right? That's the biking curse. That's not up to me.
Really not up to you,
It is like for some people, and I know a few people who I am on the back of constantly to come to the track day every single time. They still skip quite a few. How many track days have you been to?
We'll get into the details.
Yeah, we have a long podcast series.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
But on that, shout out to Indie Motard. I have been an Indie Motard customer more than once, and they do a brilliant job of actually teaching you the basics, the physics of motorcycling. It did make me a safer rider. The collateral outcome of that was it did make me a faster rider. Again, thanks to Zen, his inputs, his interest in you being a better rider. I consider myself a better rider than I was 2.5 years ago. So thanks for that, and thank you again, Indie Motard, for that. Right? Okay, we'll move to the next question.
Up to you.
So you covered things like why do you push people to go to the track and all of that, right? You briefly mentioned adventure riding.
Yeah.
Tell us, what do you think personally about adventure riding? Would you do it? And if somebody walks into Zenngine saying, hey, I want to do some adventure riding, what would you do?
So, as of my current personal status, I can only own one big bike, right? And so back in the day when I was on my small CC motorcycle, I picked one genre of riding which appealed to me the most, which was track, and I picked up a motorcycle which was dedicated completely towards that genre.
Got it.
Right? So I don't have a motorcycle to explore the adventure side of motorcycling yet.
Okay.
Right? Does that interest me? Absolutely it does. Like having this thought of you not having to be at the mercy of the, let's say, the government to build you good roads, right? You can just go on and we're going to get tired backlash for that.
Yeah.
Right?
Too much effort.
Too much.
We'll edit it out.
Yeah. We'll beep it out.
Put a Bollywood song in there.
Right. So, not having the requirement of a tarmac road, right, for you to go to beautiful places, that thought in itself is just very beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And everyone would want to do that.
Correct.
Right? I have a feeling that even when I am, let's say, 37, even though I'll be fitter than you, I'll still not be.
Time will tell.
Time will tell, right? At that age, I can still probably do adventure riding.
Yeah.
Right. I may not be as fast as I am on the track right now, which is why I prioritize track right now.
Okay.
But adventure riding is definitely something that I'm going to get to in the future. It really appeals to me. But I cannot afford it right now.
There is a I can't afford it joke happening here, but
Yeah.
that joke.
Yeah. Right. Now, if someone walks in with an adventure motorcycle, and we do a lot of adventure motorcycles, their maintenance, we do a lot of suspension setup for adventure motorcycles. The way the suspension setup work is pretty similar. It's just that their requirements are different, right? We have some benchmarks as to what the track bike should be set up to in terms of their damping and their preload, and those benchmarks are just different for adventure motorcycle riders.
You have beautifully kept it top of the house or high level, because I know how technical you get when you start talking about suspension. Good job, Zen.
I'll not stop. No.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so we do a lot of that. We definitely want to get more into adventure riding, because I think we were chatting with I was chatting with Shumi, and he happened to mention that India is going to be an ADV country for a long time, which I think is very true, right? So that is something that we are definitely going to focus more towards going forward.
Shumi has great skill, man, but I didn't know he was a fortune teller as well.
Well, experience gets you something.
That's true.
Not in the banking sector.
That's not true. You're getting into sensitive topics.
Okay.
First with government, now with banking. Okay, this was great, and we have quite a lot of things to talk about as well, right? But we'll definitely keep it for our next few episodes, right? Anything? I'm kind of done with all the questions I wanted to ask you for this podcast.
Yeah.
Anything you think I missed out on? Anything you want to ask me? Anything you want to discuss? Impromptu. Go ahead.
I think this particular the first podcast is, I think, just an intro to the future series that we do, right?
Correct.
We are not going to be talking about each other in the future series. I hope so.
Yeah.
So
I want to hear about you, Zen. Come on.
So we'll cover more about motorcycle, and we want people's input to know that what topics we should cover, what they're most interested in, apart from our gibberish. Right, so that is something that the podcast series is going to do. But I think we've covered a good background as to what Zenngine is and who we both are and how we converse, although not entirely, but still, yeah.
Okay. I think this was great. You're a great audience. Yes. And I think we did well too.
We did well.
Right?
Yeah.
For people who crunch spreadsheets and people who use spanners on a daily basis.
Range.
Yeah. Crunch, right? I think this was great. It was fun chatting with you, Zen. There is so much more to talk about, right?
Yeah.
And we can sit here all day long and just keep discussing more.
Don't we already?
Yeah, we do, right? And we will, right? We'll just span it out really well for our audience to enjoy. And like Zen covered, right? The basic idea of doing this podcast is to involve and include all of you in this great journey of Zenngine. We want to let you know what we do here every day, what kind of bikes we fix, our milestones, our success stories, how to go from good to great. And you probably are gonna have a bad day or a bad week or a bad month, and we'll include there as well. Give us some feedback. Pretty open to it. Tell us what you'd like to hear. Tell us what you'd like to see, and we'll try our best to fulfill your requirements.
Yep, I think that covers it.
With that, I'm good. Bye. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.